Hello and welcome back to Popcorn Chat. I hope you guys are doing well. In this video, I'm going to be speaking to you about two films that seem to be in the running for Best Pictures at the Oscars. So the first film that I wanted to talk to you guys about is The Fabelmans. Now this is Spielberg's latest film. We saw his recent sort of success with West Side Story not too long ago. The Fabelmans is Spielberg's ode to cinema. You know, sort of semi-autobiographical in terms of his own experience of getting into filmmaking and his love for it. This film sort of follows a family and the lead sort of character of Sammy, who falls in love with the idea of filmmaking, and it becomes one of his main sort of passions in life. And we sort of follow that family as they move across America as well, you know, due to the dad's business. They're constantly moving, and it sort of shows the family dynamic as well as sort of Sammy's passion for filmmaking. So coincides with a lot of themes, a lot of different characters over a certain amount of years. I've seen a few of Spielberg's recent films, and to be honest, a lot of them haven't really hit the mark for me. However, this one, it seemed to work. A lot of the elements, you know, from its cinematography, its directing, the pacing of the editing was excellent, you know, which I've not really seen in a lot of his recent feature films. There are some really great moments where we see the character of Sammy, where he is making films with his Cub Scout friends, and you have those small moments where we get to see some little movie making magic, you know, whether he's stepping on a plank and the sand's going in the air, or he's making his own sort of dolly. You know, there's moments like that, you know, as a creative myself, I can really sort of relate to that, and it was really inspiring and, you know, very much something I could latch onto in terms of the filmmaking world. So I really liked seeing that, and it showed a lot about his characters and his friendships, and I loved how supportive they were of his filmmaking. The film itself has great performances. There's lots of character narratives that we follow in this, with Sammy being one of the main sort of leads in this. But obviously we have the parents, we have Paul Dano, Michelle Williams, and we've got his sisters as well. And I think everyone does a great job, though I think maybe some of the parents, especially Michelle Williams at times, does feel a little bit overacted. She feels a little bit hammy at times, and that may necessarily be part of the character's sort of journey, especially into a few sort of mental health issues that she's going through. She's definitely sort of plays on that, but sometimes I think maybe the tone of her sort of deliverance maybe doesn't really fit with the rest of the film. With the film having a rating of 12A here in the UK, I think it only briefly touches upon different sort of themes, very broad brushstrokes in terms of mental health, racism. There's various things that are very sprinkling of topics and ideas that, you know, if I saw this at a young age, I would probably ask a few questions about those things that I've witnessed. So it only sort of sprinkles those ideas, and maybe, you know, that leads to discussions with, you know, families, but I don't know. I feel like maybe it could have gone more into those themes and just been a bit sort of more clear on sort of the direction of what it was trying to say at times. I think, yeah, if it wasn't for its rating, it could have delved a lot more into there. We follow the Fabelmans around as they move from different state to state, as we follow the dad's sort of working load. And they end up in California, and this is where they go to high school. And this is where we have those scenes that feel very sort of familiar. They feel like they've been overdone, where we have a high school bully picking on Sammy. And this feels very sort of cliched, so I was very sort of drawn out by it initially. Later on, this highlights the power of filmmaking and the sort of emotional elements that it brings, either for yourself or for others, and allowing you to maybe see yourself in a different way, or maybe see friends in a different way. So I do think it is a great bit of sort of storytelling, but when I saw that sort of trope of the high school bully, I thought, I've seen this hundreds and hundreds of times, but it does get there eventually in what it's trying to say. I thought The Fabelmans was a good film, definitely a lot better in terms of direction and story from Spielberg in the recent years. I think it's going to do well at the Oscars. Do I think this is going to win Best Picture? Possibly. I think its ode to cinema and the love of filmmaking definitely is going to swing it. And obviously you've got Spielberg as the director of this, so I think it could work in his favour potentially. So let's move on to the second film that I wanted to talk about in this video, and that is Tar. So this film follows Lydia Tarr, who is a renowned conductor of orchestras, you know, all around the world, and she's a very, very talented musician. We follow Lydia as she is days away from recording an orchestral piece that is going to hopefully elevate her career even further, even though she's already at, a really high position. And at this point, lots of different things are coming together, new people are joining the orchestra, and different elements are coming in to try and hinder her success and her relationship with her partner and her child. And it's all sort of swells with this classical music, and the use of sound and composition is all very interesting. And it's all surrounded by this classical music, the use of sound, and the use of power within this environment. As I was watching this film, I realised I'd seen an interview with Cate Blanchett before where she mentioned that this character was meant to be played by a man. This was a male part, and I think that could have obviously been, familiar. We've all sort of seen that trope before. However, I liked how they spinned the gender of the character of Tar, and I think it made it much more interesting in terms of the power dynamic, the abuse of power, and how, sort of the cancel culture either does work or doesn't work in these sort of realms of success. So I think it was quite interesting having Cate Blanchett as the lead and having a character as female and someone who is gay. I thought it was all interesting, and you could easily swap that out for a male counterpart, but I think it opens up the conversation a lot more by being a female composer. Speaking of Cate Blanchett, she does an excellent job of playing the lead character of Lydia Tar. She is able to bring both those more enhanced sort of acting performances and then also bringing it down when she needs to, and I think that sort of shows the range that she has as an actor. I do like what she does generally, and I think she does a great job in this, and I think she carries the film, definitely. One of my favourite scenes happens to be when they're at Juilliard, which obviously, if you know, it's obviously known for its arts and music and performance, and sort of the destruction of her sort of, attendees at that point. And she sort of breaks down their sort of modern views and maybe what they've read online and their perceptions of older composers is really sort of interesting. I think it's shot in a really nice way. And yeah, I love the way the camera moves, the lighting, and the whole architecture of that room is excellent. So that has to be one of my favourite scenes, minus the scene where she's just playing the accordion in the flat and just making as much noise as possible. This is a film where I've had to sort of think about it and take my time with, did I actually enjoy it? Did I think it was the best thing? Did I think it maybe has its flaws? And I was really sort of torn with how to sort of, lie with this film. But I did enjoy it, and I think it does open up the conversation a little bit more. I think it's shot quite nicely. It has this very sort of dull palette. And I think there's some nice sort of sound design elements. And I like the way in which Todd Fields lingers on scenes. Some people might not like that, but I like that, and I like that he doesn't constantly cut between conversations. You have the obvious where you get a reverse of each person on a two-person conversation. There's a scene where we have two people sitting in the theatre and we see the back of their heads, maybe Cate Blanchett's side of her face, but we never see the other person's front face. They just let the scene play out. The back of their heads, they get the performance and they get the lines, and there you go. That's all you need to do. Sometimes editing between two people having a conversation can be quite chaotic and quite distracting, but it allows the scenes to breathe and to look at the performances you can see or can't see. So I like that sort of style of directing and editing in this film. I think this film is interesting. I think I would need to watch it again, maybe to appreciate some elements more that I didn't really get on the first watch. I think the sound was way too quiet. I don't know if anyone else has had that experience, but for me, the cinema felt really, really quiet. And then there were scenes that were louder, so I'm not sure if it was deliberate at all. Maybe it's just me. But it was very, very quiet. I could hear every crunch of people's popcorn as we were watching this. But I would like to see it again and see some different sort of details and maybe think of some different sort of perspectives from this film. But I thought it was okay. Maybe not as good as The Fabelmans as an overall package, but they're very different films, very, very different. But I think I enjoyed The Fabelmans just a little bit more. Do I think Tar could win Best Picture? I don't think so. It is a lot more different to its sort of other films, but As an overall film, I don't think I've liked it as much as maybe the likes of The Fabelmans or Everything Everywhere All at Once. They're probably my frontrunners for personal choice. But I think it's okay. Cate Blanchett, excellent. You know, I'd give her a performance Oscar probably. But I don't think the film as a whole is going to bag it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts of either The Fabelmans or Tar down below. I'd love to check out your opinions. It seems to be very sort of, divisive, more so on the Tar side of the films. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you want to follow me on social media, they're linked all down below as well. And don't forget to check out the Patreon if you feel like that's something you want to do. And I'll see you guys very soon for another popcorn chat.